I'm going to tell you something today that will make your own children uncomfortable. Good, they should be. But before I get to the one move that changed everything for me, the one decision that made my son call an emergency family meeting and my daughter cry in the parking lot of a lawyer's office, I need you to understand a piece of truth so sharp it will cut through every lie you've been telling yourself about loyalty, sacrifice, and what your money means after they put you in the ground. That truth is coming, but you're not ready for it yet. So sit down, close your mouth, and let an old woman who has already walked through the fire teach you how to stop burning yourself alive for people who are warming their hands on your flames. Last Tuesday, at exactly 3:30 in the afternoon, I was sitting in my kitchen drinking dandelion tea. My kitchen, in a house I paid for with 47 years of work that started when I was scrubbing floors in buildings where they wouldn't let me use the front entrance. My granddaughter, 22 years old, was on the phone in the next room. She wasn't whispering. She didn't care enough to whisper. She was laughing, excited, describing the leather interior of a convertible she'd already picked out. And then she said the words that cracked the last bit of sentimentality left in my chest. She said she was going to buy it as soon as things got sorted out with Grandma. As soon as things got sorted out. That's what I am now, a thing to be sorted out. A delay between her and a car she'll crash in 8 months. I put my tea down. I didn't cry. I'm 80 years old. I buried a husband, buried 2 siblings, survived a system that wanted me dead or invisible since the day I was born with this skin. Tears are a luxury for people who still believe the world owes them fairness. What I did instead was open the family iPad that sits on the counter. And what I found there didn't surprise me. It confirmed everything. My son Marcus, 58 years old, a man who wears suits that cost more than his integrity. And my daughter Elena, 55, a woman who measures her worth by how many people envy her online, had created a shared spreadsheet. They titled it Projected Liquidity Post-Ruth. Read that again. Post-Ruth. Not after Mom passes. Not when we lose our mother. Post-Ruth. Like I'm a fiscal quarter. Like I'm a line item with an expiration date. They had cataloged my properties in Atlanta, my sapphire jewelry, my oak library, my commercial building. They had columns for estimated sale prices, timelines for liquidation, even a note about which real estate agent to contact first. Marcus had already promised the projected sale value of my commercial property as collateral for some investment fund run by men who play golf and destroy pension funds for sport. Elena had bookmarked my sapphire ring, the one my mother gave me, the one she wore when she marched in '63, not as a family heirloom, but as an accessory for her next social event. She wanted to wear my mother's ring to impress strangers on the internet. And my house, the one I raised them in, the one where I taught them to read, where I held them through fevers, where I sat alone after their father died and rebuilt myself from silence. That house had one note next to it, immediate sale. Now let me be very clear with you, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking this is just a sad story about ungrateful children. It's not. This is a war briefing, and if you don't recognize it as one, you're already losing. There's a machine that runs underneath everything you see. It ran when they told your grandmother she couldn't open a bank account without a man's signature. It ran when they drew red lines around our neighborhoods and decided our property was worth less because we lived in it. It ran when they made sure our schools taught obedience instead of ownership. That machine never stopped. It just got quieter. And now it hums inside your own family. The system doesn't need to steal from you directly anymore. It trained your children to do it. It taught them that consumption is identity, that status is survival, that the fastest way to feel powerful is to spend money they didn't earn. And it taught you, the one who built everything, that your job is to be modest, to save, to deny yourself, to sit in a house full of things you paid for and act like you don't deserve to enjoy them because someone younger might need them after you're gone. That is the architecture of theft disguised as love. And I lived inside it for 60 years before I burned it down. But before I tell you how I burned it, you need to understand the 3 walls they built around you. The first wall is guilt. They installed it early. Every time you spent money on yourself, someone frowned. Every time you booked a trip, someone asked if it was necessary. Every time you bought something beautiful, just because it made you feel alive, someone reminded you that there are bills and grandchildren and futures to fund. They made you believe that spending on yourself is selfish, that your pleasure is theft from the next generation. Let me be brutally honest with you. The generation that is waiting for your money does not have a single callus on their hands that came from building anything. They have opinions. They have expectations. They have spreadsheets with your name on them. But they do not have the discipline that built what you own. And guilt is the leash they use to keep you sitting still while they measure the walls of your house and calculate how fast they can sell it. The second wall is fear. You're afraid that if you spend your money, you'll end up helpless, alone in some facility where nobody visits and nobody cares. And that fear is real because the system designed it that way. It costs a fortune to grow old in this country, and it costs even more to grow old while black. Because every institution, from health care to housing, has a surcharge on your skin that no one puts on the receipt. So you hoard, you pinch, you deny yourself a single moment of extravagance because you've been taught that the only thing standing between you and a cold room is that savings account. But here's what they don't tell you. That savings account won't protect you. Your children will, or they won't. And the ones who are drawing up liquidation spreadsheets while you're still breathing are not the ones who will sit by your bed and hold your hand. They are the ones who will argue over the jewelry before your body is cold. Fear keeps you saving for a catastrophe, but the catastrophe is already here. It's sitting at your dinner table, asking you to simplify your life. The third wall is the lie of legacy. You tell yourself that the money is for them, that the house, the investments, the jewelry, all of it represents something you're passing down. You call it legacy. You call it generational wealth. You call it love in material form. But I need you to hear me now, because this is where most of you go deaf. A legacy is not a check. A legacy is not a deed to a building. A legacy is a set of values so deeply rooted in a person that they can build their own wealth from nothing, the way you did. If your children cannot build, your money will not teach them. It will anesthetize them. Statistics exposed this decades ago. Wealth built by the first generation, especially by black families, who clawed their way through every barrier the system erected, vanishes by the second or third generation at a speed that would make your head spin. Not because the money wasn't enough, because the hunger wasn't inherited. The system loves a spender. An heir with no discipline and a full bank account is the most profitable creature in the economy. They buy depreciating assets, cars that lose value the moment they leave the lot, clothes that are out of fashion in 6 weeks, experiences designed to be photographed, not lived. Your lifetime of sacrifice gets recycled back into the consumption machine in less than 6 months, and the system smiles because it got its money back. If you're still listening, if you haven't turned this off because the truth made your stomach turn, then maybe you're ready to hear what I did next. 3 days after I found the spreadsheet, Marcus came to dinner. He had that voice, the soft one, the one he uses when he wants something, but needs you to think it was your idea. He suggested I simplify my life. Those were his exact words. Simplify. He said I should sell some jewelry for security. He said the house was too much for one person. He said all of this while looking at me with a patience so rehearsed it could have been scripted. I knew what he was doing because I've been watching people try to take things from me since I was 14 years old. The tactics change. The intention never does. So I smiled. I put on my mother's sapphire ring, the one Elena had already mentally claimed, and I told him I was renovating the entire master suite with a longevity protocol imported from a Swiss bioengineering clinic. The look on his face was worth more than the renovation itself. 2 days later, both my children showed up with a lawyer. Not my lawyer, their lawyer. They sat in my living room, in the chairs I bought, under the roof I paid for, and told me they were concerned about my spending patterns. They used the phrase late onset compulsive spending as if I hadn't earned every dollar they were trying to protect from me. The lawyer, a man younger than my youngest grandchild, started talking about asset preservation trusts and fiduciary responsibility. I let him finish. Then I told them all to leave my house, not because I was angry, because I was done performing the role of a helpless old woman who needs her children's permission to live. If you're done letting people who have never built a single thing tell you how to manage what you built with your own broken hands, type strength in the comments right now. Because what I did next is the part they don't want you to hear. I called my own attorney the following morning, a woman I've known for 30 years. A black woman who understands what it means to protect wealth that was never supposed to exist in our hands in the first place. Together, we dismantled every expectation my children had been building their futures on. I sold the commercial property, not to Marcus's golf buddy, not to the agent they had picked out. I sold it on my terms, at a price I negotiated, to a buyer I chose. Then I created what my attorney called an exhaustion annuity trust. Every dollar of liquid capital I owned was converted into a monthly income stream so generous it would make your eyes water. But that stream has one rule. It can only be spent on me, my health, my travel, my comfort, my safety, my joy. If I live to 100, which I fully intend to, the fund zeroes out on my 100th birthday. There will be no pot of gold at the end. There will be no grand inheritance. There will be the residue of a life that was actually lived by the woman who earned it. I didn't tell them right away. I let them stew for a week. Then I called a family meeting in my oak library, the one Elena had priced for auction. I didn't bring a will. I brought receipts. I showed them the sale confirmation. I showed them the trust documents. I showed them the itinerary for my first private trip around the world. I showed them the contract for 10 years of advanced longevity treatment, including NAD supplementation and hyperbaric oxygen therapy that keeps my mind sharper than anyone sitting across from me. And then I showed them the new math. The math that says there is nothing left to divide. There is nothing left to fight over. There is nothing left to promise to creditors or use as collateral for foolish schemes. Everything I have is now flowing directly into the body and the life of the woman who earned it. Marcus went pale. Elena left the room. My granddaughter, the one with the convertible fantasy, stared at me like I had stolen something from her. And that reaction, that specific look of entitlement collapsing in on itself, told me everything I needed to know about what my so-called legacy had really been producing. Not gratitude, not continuity, not values, dependency. I had been building a welfare system for adults who were too comfortable to build their own lives, and I ended it. Now here's the part that nobody talks about, and this is where I need you to listen harder than you ever listened to anything. When I stopped carrying the weight of everyone's future on my shoulders, my body changed, not metaphorically, physically. The tension I had been holding in my spine for decades, the tension of protecting, saving, worrying, planning for people who were planning my financial funeral, it released. My blood pressure dropped. My sleep improved. I started eating meals I actually enjoyed instead of the bland, cheap food I ate because I was saving for their futures. The inflammation markers in my blood work went down. My doctor asked me what I was doing differently. I told her I started spending my money on myself. She laughed. Then she looked at my results again and stopped laughing because the numbers were real. You see, the system told me to be modest, to shrink, to eat less, want less, need less, so that the people who came after me could have more. But more of what? More ways to waste what I suffered to build. More comfort funded by my discomfort. The system wants you to die rich so that banks can make transaction fees off your children's spending spree. Every dollar your heir blows on something stupid generates profit for someone. Your sacrifice is not sacred to them. It is inventory. And now here's the master secret I promised you at the beginning. The one that changed everything when I finally understood it. The real inheritance is not money. It never was. The real inheritance is watching a woman who was told her whole life that she was worth less, that her skin made her a target, that her place was in service to everyone else, stand up at 80 years old and say, no, every cent I have belongs to me, and I will spend it breathing, traveling, healing, laughing, and outliving every single person who was waiting for me to die. That is the inheritance, not the cash, the defiance, the audacity to choose yourself. After a lifetime of being told you exist to fuel everyone else's comfort, If your children can't build without your money was never going to save them, but it can save you. It can buy you 10 more years of vitality. It can buy you mornings in places you've only seen in photographs. It can buy you the silence that comes when you stop owing anyone anything. Marcus eventually called, not to apologize, to ask for a loan. I said no and hung up. Elena sent a letter through her attorney requesting a review of the trust. My attorney sent back a one-page response that essentially said, the trust is ironclad and Ruth is going to Bali next month. My granddaughter has not spoken to me in 4 months, and I sleep better than I have in 50 years. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to go home tonight, or wherever you are right now, and I need you to look at the money you've been saving for people who are already measuring your coffin. I need you to ask yourself one question. Have they ever, even once, asked you what you want to do with your own life? Not what you're leaving them, not what you're saving for them, what you want. If the answer is no, then you already know what you need to do. Stop funding the fantasy of people who see you as a transaction. Start living the life you earned with every scar, every sleepless night, every door that was slammed in your face because of the color of your skin and the age on your body. Comment below the one thing you've been denying yourself so that someone else can destroy it in 6 months. And then go buy it. Today, not tomorrow. Today. Because tomorrow is a promise the universe never made you. And I refuse to let you waste another second of the time you have left being modest for people who are already spending your money in their heads. This is Ruth, 80 years old, still standing, still spending, still here, and I dare anyone in my bloodline to say a word about it.